Hello and welcome back. So today is going to be the week one schedule update, and we're going to go through some of the things. Now, obviously, if you're watching this, I'm recording this on Saturday, and there's already been a regular season game played as part of the Europe series. It was Nashville and San Jose yesterday. I tried to make a post 3 hours before the game just to remind you guys to set your lineups. There's another game today. If you're watching this as soon as this comes out, there's another game at 2 o'clock. So it's the same two teams. They're playing back-to-back. They will likely be using the alternate goaltender. And then on top of that, maybe some other guys get into the lineup that weren't in the lineup yesterday. It was a 4-1 win for Nashville. And if you're looking at the schedule here, this is both weeks combined. So it's 10-7 all the way to 10-16. And that's how it breaks down in terms of Yahoo's fantasy schedule. So what you're looking at here, this is the dashboard I created for the schedule. You can see every week of the fantasy schedule played out exactly like it is on the Yahoo schedule, and then you can see the playoff weeks and the championship weeks as well. We'll cover week one right here, right now, and as you can see, Nashville and San Jose had 4 games this week. They have 2 now, and then they're off for quite a while until the end of next week when they have 2 more games. And then what else you see here is almost everybody plays 2 games. So the green here, these are all 3-game teams. So let me just list them off for you. Chicago, they have 3 games. They have a back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday against Colorado and Vegas. So they are likely going to get blown out of the water. I wouldn't target anybody on Chicago. Columbus has 3 games. They have a back-to-back Friday and Saturday against Tampa Bay and St. Louis. So I wouldn't necessarily target any of those guys because that's a difficult Friday-Saturday matchup for Columbus. LA has 3 games, and they're all spaced out pretty good, and we'll cover that in just a second with some waiver pickups. Montreal, back-to-back on Friday and Saturday, Detroit and Washington. So that could be a place to target some offensive players. I wouldn't necessarily target their backup goaltender if you're in need of goaltending help. The Rangers play 3 games. They have a back-to-back Thursday and Friday against Minnesota and Winnipeg, and then they kick off the season on Tuesday against Tampa Bay. So not the easiest schedule for the Rangers to start off. Seattle, they have 3 games back-to-back on Wednesday and Thursday against Anaheim and LA. Those are manageable games. They're not a crazy difficulty in terms of the schedule, but you will probably see Martin Jones in one of those games. Tampa Bay has 3 games and a back-to-back on Friday, Saturday against Columbus and Pittsburgh. They're always a place that you can go to try to mine some fantasy value on a heavier week. Toronto, they have a back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday against Montreal and Washington. And then Vegas and LA are the only 2 teams to play 3 games this week and not have a back-to-back. So let's just take a quick second, and we'll go over some waiver pickups from LA and Vegas. So let's start with Vegas. These are the ownerships right here on the right side of the screen. And as you can see, anything, depending on your league size, you're going to want to target anybody below 50%, below 40%. The lower, the better, obviously. So as you notice, I did end up getting Phil Kessel despite everybody in my league knowing that I was doing this. They didn't swoop in and grab him off of my waiver claim. So I like Kessel this week. So right now, he's if you look at this, this is a quote, if I can find it here. This is a quote from head coach Bruce Cassidy. We've seen Phil Kessel and Jack Eichel have some good chemistry. Phil's a right winger, Stone's a right winger, but if we use Marchessault on the right, now we have 3 guys that can be high-end right wingers. Is that better than blah, blah, blah? So essentially, he acknowledges that him and Kessel and Eichel have good chemistry. And so they may end up using him on that first line. It's just a matter of who's going to play on the left and what do they want to do in terms of their depth. But if he is on that top line to start the season, he's only 23% owned, and Jack Eichel had 8 points in the preseason. If you, I don't know why it's not on here. He has 8 points in 3 games, despite this not updating or whatever. But yeah, so Jack Eichel's been a beast, and you could get access to that through Phil Kessel. Martinez is a pretty much stay-at-home defenseman. You could target McNabb for hits. He is a big hitter, a big block guy, only 9% owned. You could get access to this entire Smith, Carlson. Actually, you don't have Marchessault because he's been drafted in a lot of leagues, 90%, mainly because of his shot volume and some other metrics, goal scoring, etc. But you can get Riley Smith and William Karlsson. And with Riley Smith, so he's on PP1 right now. He had 2 goals in the most recent preseason game And as you can see, Vegas went 1 for 3 on the power play. Smith's second goal was a power play goal. So, he could be a guy to target if you want PP1 exposure in Vegas at 11% ownership. You may be able to actually get him, and that could help you out. They have 3 games this week, so you're going to get a little bit of volume where you normally wouldn't get that. Now, as we switch over, let's take a look at LA. And we covered this. I covered all of these guys, basically, that I'm about to tell you about. I didn't mention Dursey. With Sean Dursey, I want to see if he's going to get any power play time. He looked very, very good. Very good offensive defenseman, young, up and coming, but is he going to get power play time with Doughty back? That's the question I want to have answered before I target him. So let's look at some of these other guys. Victor Arvidsson, he's only 23% owned, and with him, you're getting 3.43 shots per game. And then what you'll notice too is I mentioned this entire line: Arvidsson, Deneau, and Moore. They're all available. Deneau and Moore are more 2.5 shot per game guys, and we went over what their stats were in that previous video, the deep value plays video. So if you're looking for some more information on them, I covered the entire line in that video. 18% owned for Deneau, 10% owned for Trevor Moore. So there is, you can get them pretty easily in terms of, trying to pick them up off your waiver wire. And then Arthur Kaliev, just in case, he's looked pretty good in preseason, 2.45 shots per game. He's just probably not going to get a good line assignment thus far, but if you're in a deep league and you want something there, he plays 3 times this week, and none of them are back-to-back, so he could be a guy to go get. Quentin Byfield, if you're really in a deep league, he could be, only 3% ownership, so you could probably get him. I just don't know how productive he is or where his line assignment is to start the season, and I wouldn't go any deeper than that. But that's what we're talking about in terms of ads. These are the 2 best teams to pick up ads from. Now, if you let's return back to this and just show you the way that this breaks down. So the other end of the spectrum, St. Louis only plays 1 time in this entire massive week, and same thing with Winnipeg. So if you're a guy who owns Binnington or Hellebuyck, you're going to have to do something else to get goaltending. You're not going to get enough starts to qualify. So if you're, one of those owners that has Binnington or Hellebuyck, you could potentially think about some of these guys. Grubauer, obviously Seattle plays 3 times. They have a back-to-back, so he'll get at least 2 starts, and he's more than likely available on your waiver wire. Thompson and Hill in Vegas, like I said, they play 3 times next week. I would assume 2 starts for one guy, 1 start for the other guy, but there's no back-to-back, so they could start Thompson all 3 if they want to go that route or whatever. It's just sort of a wait and see. Maybe think of that the day of. Cal Peterson in LA, as I mentioned, they don't have any back-to-backs, so I would assume he would get 1 start. Maybe I don't know how they're going to play the Quick Peterson tandem in terms of no back-to-backs, but he could be available. Jake Allen, Montreal, they play 3 times. They have a back-to-back Friday and Saturday against Detroit and Washington. I would assume they're going to use him for 2 of those 3 games, so you could potentially get some starts out of Allen. The Rangers have a back-to-back Thursday, Friday, so I would expect to see Jarl Halak in the lineup. If you want, as I mentioned, Grubauer, you could go Martin Jones the second night of the back-to-back if you're really desperate. Same thing with Washington. Washington has a back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday against Boston and Toronto. So I wouldn't necessarily target this player, but if you want Charlie Lindgren, he will probably get 1 of those starts. And then if you really want a backup on a decent team, you could look at Tampa Bay. They have a back-to-back Friday, Saturday against Columbus and Pittsburgh. If they start Elliott against Columbus, I like that better than them starting Elliott against Pittsburgh. So keep an eye on that. And then if you're absolutely really desperate, Chicago plays 3 times, and Mrazek will probably get some starts there. They do have a back-to-back, so he'll probably only get 2 of the 3 starts, but that could be a place to try to pick up some goaltending starts if you're desperate for them this week. So just a couple of notes from week 1. Now, as we can go through here, and a couple of people were asking about the playoff schedule. So playoff week 1, all these in green are teams with 4 games that week. So Arizona, Boston, Calgary, Carolina, Chicago, Colorado, Detroit, Florida, Nashville, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Toronto, Vancouver. But everybody else plays 3 times. So it's nothing crazy where you're getting a team that only plays once. So these are the teams that you want to look at. Now remember, you can get access to this exact dashboard. There's also a mobile version, so you can use it on your phone if you're out and you don't have access to this. So I have a desktop version and a mobile version, and you can get access to that in the Patreon description in the link below in the description. We have, for $3, you can get access to all of the charts and visualizations, including this one. And then for $5, you get all of that, plus access to our community Discord channel, which is very helpful when determining, if you want to run a trade by me or run a trade by somebody else. We also have people in this this Discord group that follow other teams, so they are right on top of the line assignments and the different trends that are emerging. Especially for me, I'm on the East Coast, so trying to get some West Coast information is a little bit difficult, and we have a couple of guys who cover some West Coast teams for us, and they update us with all the things that are going on. That's how I found Kuzmenko and mentioned him in that rookies video. So yeah, just a quick reminder, if you want these, $3 in the Patreon link in the description below, $5 if you want access to the Discord as well. But yeah, so this is playoff week 1, and then let's look at playoff week 2 really quickly. I'm not going to read them off. You can read these pretty quickly. But again, what you also want to take away from this, nobody plays less than 3 times. And I feel like what's happening with the schedule makers, they're kind of understanding that these weeks are fantasy playoff weeks. You cannot have a team play once or twice during these weeks. So everybody plays 3 times minimum. And then there's teams that play 4 times. So, for me, for my personal team, I have New Jersey, I have Blackwood, I have Toronto, so they play 3 times, and then I also have Jari, so Pittsburgh plays 4 times, so I should be okay on goaltending there. That's kind of what I'm looking at in terms of category coverage. And then the championship week. This is the week where if you do make it, it is a long week. So most teams play 5 games. As you'll notice here, this week goes from the 3rd of April to the 13th. That's 10 days. That's according to Yahoo. So this is potentially subject to change. If the league has to make some adjustments or whatever, I'll have to update this entire dashboard. But as of now, everybody plays, except for the Islanders, everybody plays 5 times. So if you have Islanders, which most of you probably don't, you might want to dump them before championship week, but you've got plenty of time to think about that. The number 1 team, though, is Seattle with 7 games that week. So if you have Grubauer, that could be an interesting reason to keep him for the entire season. Could be a reason to target Martin Jones if you're looking for goaltender starts that week. But again, just wanted to give you a quick glance at this. Not going to go into it too deep because there's still a lot that could potentially happen between now and then. And, not just for your team, but in terms of the schedule as well. But yeah, this was your week 1 schedule update. I will be more than likely I'll be doing these on Sundays. I had to get this done a little quicker because there's games already happening at 2 p.m. Eastern time. One yesterday, one today. So I wanted to make sure that I got this out quickly. And I spent most of the last 2 or 3 days working on this dashboard and the Excel spreadsheet that accompanies it. And if you want that, you can just, if in the Patreon group, you can send me a message. I'll email you the spreadsheet if you want, if that's your format of choice. But yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll be doing a lot more content like this over the course of the season. Usually, like I said, Sundays, we'll give you some plays to look out for on the heavier teams and things like that. Let me just click back to week 1 just so you can take one last look at it before we end the video. But yeah, I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.